Donald Trump has made a stunning admission about the war against Iran. Rather than addressing the American people directly, he's making social media posts, and he's now saying, buckle up, this war is going to take a very, very long time. And again, not directly addressing the American people, but posting messages like this on his social media platform. He writes, Khamenei, one of the most evil people in history, is dead. He goes on to say, hopefully the IRGC, that's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and police will peacefully merge with the Iranian patriots and work together as a unit to bring back the country to the greatness it deserves. That process should soon be starting, in that not only the death of Khamenei, but the country has been in only one day very much destroyed and even obliterated. The heavy and pinpoint bombing, however, will continue uninterrupted throughout the week, or as long as necessary, to achieve our objective of peace throughout the Middle East and indeed the world. Peace through war, in other words, is Donald Trump's plan, even though he ran on no regime change wars. And it should also be noted that Donald Trump here is now saying there really is no plan. Hopefully, and what hopefully the IRGC merges with Iranians, that's what your plan is. And he said it could take weeks. By the way, that's exactly what MAGA Republican Senator Tom Cotton is saying. Cotton is the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he said, prepare for a war that at a minimum will last for weeks, not for days. So the United States is now in a long-term war that's going to last for weeks. And again, the American people aren't being addressed. There's no explanation about why we're doing regime change when we were first told this was about stopping the uranium enrichment. And then Iran agreed to stop uranium enrichment during a mediation by the foreign minister of Oman. But then the United States said, we actually want regime change. And that's what United States and Israel wants anyway. The full quote from Cotton, we're probably looking at weeks, not days, of joint efforts by the United States, Israel, and our Arab partners who have also been attacked this morning. And we don't have any word from the Arab partners that they've joined. But we have been reporting about how the American military bases and tourism sectors where Americans stay and places where our troops stay in surrounding countries like Bahrain, like the United Arab Emirates, like Kuwait, and other surrounding countries, Jordan, Saudi Arabia and others have been hit with ballistic missiles and Shahid drones by Iran. And Iran hasn't stopped doing that. Iran has escalated since the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. And by the way, the death of Ayatollah Khamenei has been confirmed by Iranian media. I just want to be clear about that. I saw some people in the comments saying, you can't trust your sources, Ben, or you're wrong. When I reported earlier, I was right. I have independent sources outside of what Trump says or what Netanyahu says or the New York Times say. And we knew that happened. In any event, the Iranian media is confirming Khamenei is dead. Regardless, Iran has a succession plan. The CIA had always expected, and our intelligence services always expected, if you kill the Ayatollah, there's just going to be someone who's more of a hardliner and more of an extremist ready to take his place, not a moderate, not a merging between the Iranian National Guard, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and other Iranian people. You're going to get a hardliner. And the Islamic Republic is still in power right now. And it's very hard to do regime change if you're just doing military strikes with airplanes and drones, and you don't actually have boots on the ground, which unclear at this point if the United States is committing boots on the ground or if Israel is committing boots on the ground. But if that happens, we will certainly let you know. Remember, Donald Trump's statement last night was, well, it's war, and wars people die, so what can you do about it? That was Donald Trump's statement while wearing a USA hat. Should be noted, as Iran has escalated its attacks on neighbors, its retaliatory strikes on neighbors. The famous Burj Al Arab Hotel in Dubai, it's like probably the most famous hotel there, was hit by Iranian drones and missiles. The hotel for a period of time was on fire. You can see what it looks like right here. I'll show you just other footage as well of Iranian drones hitting the vicinity of the Palm Hotel and Resort in Dubai. The main tourist areas in Dubai were hit. The airport in Dubai was hit. The airport in Bahrain was hit. Residential buildings in Bahrain were hit. And so, if anything, Iran has just been escalating its military strikes on its neighbors. Now, what else is Donald Trump doing right now? Well, he's using this moment to attend a Republican fundraiser. The White House traveling press pool, which today includes the BBC, has been told that we won't see or hear from Donald Trump this evening. Too busy to talk to the American people about a regime change war. No discussion with the American people about why. How does this impact our national security interests? Should we, the pros and cons, the normal thing we're used to presidents doing. But that doesn't mean he's done for the day. As this reporter describes, just a short while ago, we were informed by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt that Trump, and it's the reporter's Bernd de Boosman, Donald Trump still intends to attend a fundraiser being held this evening at Mar-a-Lago for the Republican Party. Caroline Leavitt added, this party, Leavitt added, is more important than ever. We have been pressing the White House for more details on Trump's plans for tomorrow, but have yet to receive any word. In other words, Trump going radio silent again, not addressing the public, but he is holding fundraisers for the Republican Party and for the MAGA Political Action Committee. Take a look at what the former domestic policy advisor for Marco Rubio had to say, Greg Nunziata. Here's what he has to say. I don't have a position on the wisdom of what we've done in Iran. I think the Iranian regime is evil. The Persian people are amazing, and I hope for the best. But it is profoundly troubling that our peace president went to war with zero attempt to make the case to the country. Here's what Democratic Senator Gallego had to say. Here, play this clip.
And the idea that we just willy-nilly went to this war without any other plan. So he just basically attacked Iran and then said, Iranians, it's up to you. That's not how you go to war. That's not how you put our men and women in danger just because you have the opportunity to do it. And certainly we shouldn't be going to war because Saudi Arabia, these Gulf Coast countries, or Israel have asked us to do this. It is not in our interest to destabilize the region. It's not in our interest to be involved in such a deadly confrontation. And certainly what happens after this is not going to be in our interest. And again, we've made the same mistake potentially that happened in Iraq, and it was unneeded this whole time.
Here's what distinguished Columbia Press professor Jeff Sachs had to say about the U.S. strikes on Iran. Let's play this clip.
The U.S. has stepped into shit today, if I could put it bluntly, and we don't know what will transpire. Maybe they'll kill a lot of people in the next few days and declare a great success. Reportedly, they've killed 40 schoolgirls already in a bombing outside of Tehran. But there's no way that it can actually achieve strategic objectives in the long term. The United States itself is not stable enough to achieve that. Trump is a highly unpopular figure, of course, a profoundly deep, polarizing figure. His approval rating will fall for sure in the coming months, though sometimes with an attack it blips up. I don't even think that will happen here because the American public was steadfastly against this. We're entering our own elections in November that Trump may try to subvert because he is openly talking about federalizing or nationalizing the elections, which would mean massive fraud. So This is a very unstable, and a trigger or a fuse, to say it better, a fuse was lit that will have consequences of war in many regions of the world.
Now, lots of people are saying the following. As Marko Kolanovic says, Iranian regime also knows that they need to do an oil shock and the stock market can tank, and then maybe you can get a Donald Trump taco. Trump always chickens out. Now, some of the maneuvers that Iran is making right now in the Strait of Hormuz, although I'm not sure it's fully closed, we do know that there are a lot of ships that are just not going into the Persian Gulf right now, that are not traversing past the Strait of Hormuz. We know that there were over radio signals in Iran statements that they were closing the Strait of Hormuz. There are conflicting reports if it's fully closed, but it is, let's just say it is inhibited. That's for sure. Few facts that have just developed. Insurers will cancel their policies and raise prices for ships in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Brokers say the cost of cover will increase by as much as 50% after the conflict erupts. Risk insurers on Saturday submitted cancellation notices for policies covering ships moving through the key oil choke point. Brokers told Financial Times with prices set to rise as much as 50% in the coming days. Oil and gas majors and traders suspend shipments via Hormuz, these sources are saying. And I want to read you this statement as well. I think it's a powerful statement from Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff. Here's what he had to say. 8 months ago, Donald Trump lied to the country when he claimed U.S. airstrikes had obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Now Trump says he's taken America to war for regime change in Iran. Trump has launched this regime change war and put American forces at risk without presenting evidence of an imminent threat, without clear objectives, without having exhausted diplomacy, and without a plan for the aftermath, and without the consent of Congress. I oppose yet another regime change war of choice in the Middle East. Congress must convene immediately and pass a war powers resolution to assert our constitutional authority over war and peace. The president has presented no evidence that Iran or its nuclear program, which he falsely claimed to have obliterated, pose an imminent threat to the United States or the diplomacy was exhausted. Iran's support for terrorism and uranium enrichment have long destabilized the region, but sending American forces into harm's way should only ever be the last result. I pray for the safety of U.S. forces who have been ordered into battle and commend their extraordinary professionalism. Now, Democratic Congressmember Jason Crow, who was an Army Ranger, posted the following. How brave, Donald Trump not sending his family or the kids of billionaire donors off to fight. He's sending working class folks off to war. Here's what MAGA Republican Senator Tim Scott had to say about why we invaded Iran. Let's play this clip right here.
And the objective of this was to stop their missile. They're adding more short and long range missiles. They have missile launchers. They were threatening our ally Israel. They're threatening American troops. They've been negotiating with Iran, and Iran has been arrogant. They said they have the right to rebuild their nuclear weapons and enrich. They wouldn't stop the missile production. So the president didn't have any option. If he wanted to defend this country, which this president wants to defend this country, he actually didn't have any option because what they've said, Iran has said for decades, is they want to destroy us and our ally Israel. So I'm very appreciative of what the president did. And he has every right to do it. Every president since Truman has said they have the right for military action without a formal declaration of war. So he's not doing anything different than other presidents.
And then two other data points I want to share with you. The photos from the Situation Room in Mar-a-Lago. It's a ad hoc situation room they created in Donald Trump's resort where he lives, which was also the site of sex trafficking by Epstein. Remember, that's where Virginia Giuffre was sex trafficked from when she was an underage, when she was a child. Susan Wiles, you'll see in this room with Donald Trump, is wearing an Apple Watch during a classified briefing on U.S. Israeli strikes on Iran. Strict Sensitive compartmented information facility SCIF protocols generally prohibit any electronic devices that are specially approved and neutered. No mics, no wireless capabilities. And she had an Apple Watch. And then finally, I'll just show you what was going down on Iranian media. I'm just going to show you a quick clip where they announced that the Ayatollah had been killed. Here, play this clip.
خدای بزرگ و شکست ناپذیر.
Yeah, I did a whole other report on it, but I'd be remiss if I did not mention the fact that in an area in Iran, these strikes by U.S. and Israel resulted in the deaths of about 100 little girls at a all-girls elementary school out there. And so that's a very, very tragic development as well. We've been covering that all day. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks everybody for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.